Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. My name is Shidqi M, Fadhil, and me and my team here is going to present about principles and strategies to teaching readings to young learners. As for the first slide, it will be explained by Ikhsan Muttaqiin. Ikhsan, the mic is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suki. So first, I would like to talk about the principles of teaching reading to young learner. Okay, next. Okay, in this section, I would like to discuss the theory as the foundation of the scaffolding. There are three theories regarding the learning process. First one is from Piaget with theory of cognitive development. One of them talk about concrete stage in which children are able to understand the concept of with concrete evidence. This stage happens when children reach 7 until 11 years old, which usually is the age of elementary students. Next is from Vygotsky with his social development theory, which says that in order to help children gain their potential, support from knowledgeable person and any supporting tool are necessary for children in their learning process. Last one is from Brunner with his constructivism theory, which says that students should be the active one in learning, so teachers need to find approach that can stimulate students' self-learning. Okay, next. Okay, after I explain the theories, next I want to talk about any aspect of teaching reading to young learner. Sometimes teacher instructs the students to read aloud the text. Read aloud is good, but we need to consider several things. First, basically reading is done silently without saying it out loud, so teacher may not use it over and over. Second, reading aloud usually is conducted by asking one students to read the text in front of class, which may cause anxiety for students. And the third one is understanding of the content of the text is more important. Probably teachers ignore this aspect when instructing reading aloud to students. So from the aspect that I mentioned, we may wonder how to prepare teaching reading. I suggest 3 points that we can apply. First, prepare the appropriate text for children. Second, make children think some vocabularies that will appear in the text. And the last one is encourage children to discuss in group or in pairs. So that's all from the principles. Next about the activities from Muhammad Alfian.
All right, thank you very much, Iksan. And now I will explain the activity. And the first activity is TPR. So next slide, please. Yeah, so TPR, or also known as a total physical response, is an important method of teaching a foreign language. TPR is a language learning method based on the coordination of command, speech, and action, as well as physical activity. This strategy mainly targets three types of learners: visual, kinesthetic, and audio learners. TPR has two focuses. The first is to teach the focus objectives of the lecture, and the second is to teach the students' understanding. Because of these two focuses, teachers need to adjust the instructions so that the students can understand it. There are two types of TPR. The first one is instructional TPR, which gives instruction or commands to the students using both language and action. The example of instructional TPR for lower primary learners is Simon Says. Simon Says is the activity that is usable for this type of TPR. In Simon Says, teachers instruct the students by saying, Simon Says, put your hands on your shoulder. And students will do what the teacher says, and teachers can check students' understanding of the things mentioned. In Simon Says method, students only do what the teacher tells them to do but are not allowed to speak. The second is educational or content TPR. It is used when showing something or content to the students and then the teacher does an act related to the things mentioned. The example of educational or content TPR is while in reading class, teachers read aloud the book, while students follow the teacher and read the book silently. The teachers then come up with words that students find in new words. For example, the teacher picks the word tiger, then acts and sounds like a tiger to make the students understand the word. So that is all from TPR, and next activity will be explained by Derisan Nugraha.
All right, thank you, Alfian. And here is the second activity of the reading aloud and modeling. And first, focus on the modeling is showing the students about how and about what to do rather than only saying the words. And why modeling is important? Because modeling will give students the idea of what does a word means. And the third is the procedure. The first one is inserts the text, second one is provide enjoyable reading experience, and the third one is discuss with the students. Next. And here's the modeling example. First, the modeling example is select an appropriate text, and second one is introduce the text to the student, and then discuss the title, content, and the author and illustrator, and then the concept of the print. And then provide an enjoyable reading experience for the student. After reading, invite the students to respond the text and discuss what students have heard, providing an opportunity for students to extend understandings and link their prior knowledge to the new concept and information presented in the text. And last one is when the reading to the students, the responsibility for reading is with the teacher. I think that's it from the second activities or modeling. I will give mic to the Shidqi Muhammad, Shidqi Fadhil.
All right, thank you very much, Derisan. And now I'm going to explain about student output. So by description, student output means the amount of time your student actively speak with English language in class. The purpose of this is for them to make as much mistake as possible so that you can know which part you can fix them on or help them on. It is recommended for young learners to have a 50% participation, while for older learners, it is recommended to have 70%. Just mind to not fix them at every single of the turns, so because they need to be comfortable enough to participate in classes. So how are the example of things that we can do in order to increase student output in class? One of them is by asking them a question in which they need to elaborate. And then second is by asking them even more question like extension question. For example, like, do you like summer? And if the answer is yes, then the extension question would be, why do you like summer and what do you like about it so much? And I think that will be it. I will give the next part to Ikhsan Muttaqiin. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Not Ikhsan Muttaqiin, but Emeraldi Mufti Rabbani.
Okay, thank you, Shidqi. So I'm going to explain the appropriate language. Teacher could include appropriate language strategy in the reading classroom. Appropriate language is the language that is used in classroom. The language that is used must follow the student level so that they can understand the language. So the teaching instruction must follow the student language level. The most important thing in appropriate language is to always stick to vocabulary and the lesson objective. This can be done by giving teacher direction that explain the new words or the words that the students are not familiar with somewhere in the lesson. Usually in the bottom of the lesson if using paper and pen, or by having tips button on which explain the words in the digital media. The example for appropriate language in the third level classroom is by giving picture of profession up to the students and ask them what is the profession or the person in the picture. And the teacher later will explain the profession, and then the teacher can ask what students want to be when they grow up. The example of appropriate language strategy that can be used in reading classroom for younger learners is by giving explanation of new or difficult words in the bottom of the paper or in the bottom of the slide if the teacher uses PowerPoint. By giving explanations of the words in the paper or slide, the students will get familiar with the words and will not be confused when reading the material. All right. That's all from me. And now for the next strategy will be explained by Ikhsan. Ikhsan.
Okay, so this section will discuss about the engagement and reward. Teachers should find something to engage their students in order to build their focus on the material. I will propose two ways that teacher can use. First, you can bring a doll or maybe something that related to your story if you are in the storytelling session, or maybe another way to engage, you can challenge your students by asking something such as the vocabulary, the plot, or anything. Now let's move on to the rewarding. Rewarding is necessary as a driver for students to keep motivated in learning. This is different for each student level. For young learner, you can give sticker or maybe snack if you want to when they accomplish something like answering your questions. So that's all for the engagement and reward, and I will give it back to Shidqi.
Yeah, thank you very much for the nice attention. That will be all from my group. Any questions might be submitted in class. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.